Welcome to Hypercar Global, the channel where we take a look at electric vehicles, Tesla and of course Elon Musk. Today we take a look at Tesla's new in-car monitoring system. Check out the new membership section I have added with awesome benefits. Click the join button next to subscribe to find out more. Without any hesitation, let's get into the video. Tesla adds driver monitoring to interior camera. As part of the latest software update, Tesla added driver monitoring capability to its autopilot driver assist feature. From what we've seen, it appears to be a fairly robust system. This comes after a largely dishonest campaign of misinformation and a notable case of abuse. The cabin camera above your rearview mirror can now detect and alert driver inattentiveness while autopilot is engaged. Camera data does not leave the car itself, which means the system cannot save or transmit information unless data sharing is enabled, the update's information screen says. This seems aimed at an increasing tempo of safety concern and misinformation. Tesla has been in a lot of heat with media and safety advocates over the last year about this. Late last year, the pace of criticism picked up, with writers calling for the US government to do something about Tesla's driver assist features. Autopilot was already getting a trickle of criticism, but the release of the FSD beta got people more riled up. The big concern? Studies have shown that driver attention tends to start slipping after a driver becomes accustomed to a system like autopilot, and that their attention may start slipping when they begin to trust the system too much. For this reason, most other manufacturers add some sort of eyeball monitoring system to vehicles with auto steer functionality so it can alert drivers who aren't paying attention, and possibly take the feature away from them so they won't abuse it. At the same time, though, I and others argued that the threat was largely hypothetical. Despite a great many miles driven, there have been very few wrecks due to inattentiveness, and most of them were the result of people very intentionally abusing the system and not just drifting into la-la land. The concerns raised seem legitimate, but we haven't really seen it create accidents. Later, NTSB sent a letter calling for NHTSA to regulate driver assist features more, citing concern over Tesla's implementation of autopilot. The last few months have been a lot more wild. One of the big events that kicked this into overdrive was the crash of a Tesla Model S near Houston, Texas. The investigation ultimately found that there was indeed a driver in the vehicle's driver's seat, that no driver assist features were in use, and that the occupants probably weren't even wearing seat belts. Unfortunately, it took weeks for that information to fully come out, and an early misstatement by a local constable led media to run with the idea that there was no driver behind the wheel. While nearly everyone ran with the idea that there was no driver behind the wheel, because that's what a public official initially said, the most wild example was Consumer Reports' testing of autopilot. They took the vehicle to a closed track and showed that the feature can be abused by buckling the seatbelt with nobody sitting, sit on top of the belt, and then hang a weight from the steering wheel. These steps bypass two of Tesla's safety lockouts to prevent exactly such abuse. Worse, a moron in San Francisco got arrested for abusing autopilot, after he had been doing it for months. Despite the arrest, he continued doing it again after getting out on bail, showing off to a local news crew that he was riding in the back with no driver again, and nothing is stopping him from continuing to do this until his court date in July. With all of this pressure and bad publicity, Tesla must have decided they needed to implement yet another safety feature to keep people from abusing autopilot. From what we know so far, the system seems pretty good. Tesla's camera monitoring system seems to have been in some sort of testing for months. A hacker who goes by the name Green on social media has messed with the feature in the past, getting data from the car's computer on what it's seeing, which he then superimposed over the video. The information from the Tesla's computer updates very rapidly, making it hard to see what's going on. For that reason, it's a good idea to pause the video to see what the computer concludes at any given frame. On YouTube, you can advance frame by using a computer's period and comma buttons. What we see is a computer trying to make qualitative judgments about what it sees, and it can only express them with probabilities. A high probability of driver eyes nominal will probably be what allows autopilot, and likely FSD beta, to continue operating. If that statistic goes down, and other statistics like phone use or driver eyes closed is instead high, the system will probably put out a warning or shut off the same way as it does when you ignore wheel nag. It's also worth noting that you can't easily fool it with photos. Putting up a picture of Elon Musk leaves it thinking that the chance of good attention is only about 1.7%, and won't allow autopilot to continue. Good statistics like this and good real-world performance are two separate things, though. We will have to wait and see how well the system works for drivers before we decide on whether it's a good system. We also don't know if there are still ways to fool it, perhaps in much the same way Homer Simpson tried to fool a court. This was done voluntarily. While the critics are already saying this was done too late, it's important to note that the government didn't have to clamp down for Tesla to do this. Instead of calling for Tesla to implement DMs, I saw many people calling for government agencies to force Tesla to do it. The idea of voluntarily adopting these things, or taking alternative measures to address the risks of abuse and autonomwashing, didn't seem to be anywhere on their mental map. In reality, this shouldn't even be necessary. A system that requires you to take at least 2 intentional actions, seat belt, will wait, to abuse is really the responsibility of the abuser. Sadly, people will always find ways to surprise us with their stupidity, and Tesla had to do this to stop them. This isn't over. We shouldn't assume for a second that this system will put an end to all abuse. Even if a picture of a person or images of fake eyes on glasses don't defeat the system, stupid people will always find a way to mess with safety lockouts. We need to continue taking action against abuse. The abusers should be prosecuted and not just left out on the streets when they continue to refuse to follow the law. People need to remind each other that driver assist features like autopilot aren't self-driving or autonomous, and we need to speak out against companies that auto-no-wash. The autopilot abuser released from jail, buys new Tesla, rides in backseat again. The Tesla autopilot abuser arrested earlier this week for reckless driving after riding in the backseat of his electric car while operating on autopilot is out of jail. Now, he is in a new Model 3 and riding around in the backseat once again after claiming that he's so rich, he can buy a new Tesla every time the police arrest and release him from jail. I'm rich as, expletive. I'm very rich, 25-year-old Param Sharma said to San Francisco's KTVU on Wednesday. I'll just get a new Tesla every time. I have unlimited money to blow on Teslas. If you take my Tesla away, I will get another Tesla. Sharma was arrested on Monday after a video of him riding in his all-electric Tesla in the backseat on Interstate 80 surfaced online. It was his second arrest in 2 months. After his arrest on Monday, Sharma was charged with 2 counts of reckless driving and disobeying a police officer. He was subsequently released, and legal analysts believe that the judge will warn him of further consequences if his actions persist. What I think you'll see as his first court date is the judge give him a very stern warning and say, "You are not to drive unless you're in the driver's seat of your vehicle. And if you do, we're gonna put you back in jail," Stephen Clark, a Santa Clara County-based legal analyst, told KTVU. Sharma isn't bothered because he says every time he's arrested and released, he'll just buy a new car. The risks of driving a Tesla on autopilot without actually operating the vehicle are tremendous and provide numerous issues for various people. First, the operator of the car is misusing autopilot. Tesla does not have a Level 5 autonomous driving program, nor has it ever claimed that its vehicles could be driven without supervision from the driver. To this day, the company's website still indicates that drivers must remain attentive and keep their hands on the steering wheel at all times. The company's Autopilot Frequently Asked Questions page states, "Yes. Autopilot is a hands-on driver assistance system that is intended to be used only with a fully attentive driver. It does not turn a Tesla into a self-driving car, nor does it make a car autonomous. Before enabling autopilot, you must agree to keep your hands on the steering wheel at all times and to always maintain control and responsibility for your car. Once engaged, if insufficient torque is applied, autopilot will also deliver an escalating series of visual and audio warnings, reminding you to place your hands on the wheel if insufficient torque is applied. Additionally, the misuse of autopilot is dangerous to other drivers, pedestrians, and anyone near a public roadway. The vehicle is still to be controlled and supervised by the driver, and autopilot is not capable of traveling on streets without an attentive driver." Finally, It is a huge risk for Tesla and other companies attempting to solve fully autonomous driving or even semi-autonomous driving. An incident that occurs due to a lapse in supervision or responsibility by the driver could result in major steps back in the pursuit of autonomy. While regulations in the United States and other countries are already stringent, irresponsible use of any semi-autonomous driving functionality could lead to even more delays in legislation or regulations that ease the restrictions on assisted driving. Sharma will appear in court on July 6, and he said he will plead not guilty. Do you think Teslas will be monitoring all its drivers in the next few years? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, and if you are new to the channel, why not subscribe? Turning on bell notifications will alert you when I upload so you'll never miss any more Tesla news.